Hello and welcome, everyone. So glad to have you here. My name is Brooke Gordon, and I am your host for today's Best for Women Live. Delighted to have you with me. So, I'm going to be joined today by my friend and wonderful fellow entrepreneur. Her name is Dr. Ellen Wong, and we are so glad to have her here with us today. I'm just going to double check that she is here. So let me just quickly pop in. There she is. We sent in an invite and she has joined. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm I'm good. I was trying to press the buttons to do the thing, and I accidentally unfollowed the account by mistake. I was like, nope,
Button.
that's not what I'm trying to do.
It's
Okay.
fantastic how they get you
Alrighty.
to be on camera with contacts, and then you're also trying to navigate the comments and the join and the like it's all, and it's in like this
Yeah.
much space. Yeah,
Yes. It's exactly what I was like
not
clicking the
that
button, like,
button.
no, 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 not unfollow, not unfollow.
Love it.
Stop.
I love it. Well, I am so glad that you're here today, Ellen.
Uh,
I was just saying, this is our Best for Women Live. We're having a conversation today about sort of business development, really. And so you just finished a fabulous summit on happiness.
Thank you. I'm excited. It's the first one I run. Definitely tons of learning involved in it. But yeah, I'm super excited to share and
Amazing.
answer any questions
Well, congratulations, because I know it was a
around
tremendous
it.
amount of
Yeah.
work. I had the honor of being one of the participants of it, and I know it was a lot of work that went into it.
Thank, thank you. And thanks for
Well,
being an
thank you, my
awesome
friend.
speaker at
It's
it.
my pleasure. So I want to start by asking, what made you decide to showcase the expertise in your community? Well, maybe just start there.
Mm. I I'm half laughing because you and I are both people who are very systematic, and things get plotted out, and um we tend to be people who do something because it makes sense to do it. Like there's like a logical reason why you're doing the thing. And I when I decided to launch the summit, I was in the shower and honestly just thinking about how I could spread the message of something that I was really passionate about. It's probably one of the very first things that I have done in my business development where it wasn't like I am doing this because it fits into here in the ecosystem and that's what I'm supposed to do with it, and therefore that's the thing I'm launching. And so it was one of the fewer things that I've done, as someone who is very systematic and very into planning and organizing, that um, I wasn't entirely sure how it was going to turn out, but the driving factor for me was I wanted to get the message out around something that I was very passionate about sharing. That being said, I think the systematic thinking and the organizational strategies came into play once I decided that was the thing that I was going to do, because then the organizing part became, I don't want to say easy, but it was like laid out in my mind. Like I knew what step had to happen next. But the idea, to answer your original question, was really that I'm really passionate about talking to people about what it means to be truly happy. And I wanted to find a way to get it out there. So a summit was the
I
idea that
love that.
came
I
to my
want to just
mind.
quickly say how much I love that you planned a summit in the shower, and for two reasons. One, it is a time when we're actually at rest, because aside from like the torture of washing your hair, there's not really any other task that you have, or keeping your hair dry, one or the other, that's kind of like the only thing that's
Yeah.
like on your mind. Is today a wash day or a dry day? And everything else is
Yeah.
almost like you are in this state of rest where you can be creative. And friends of yours and mine, Sarah and Trina Turl, had a conversation once about this on their podcast, and Sarah was like, I need just like white erase marker in my shower.
Yeah. Yeah. They have
Yeah,
shower crayons.
it's for people like us.
Like they're meant for, yeah, well, technically they were meant for kids, but like people like us can find great ways to use it. And basically, like I have friends who, Dr. Carrie Fullerton, she was also on the summit, and she has a set of shower crayons that she leaves for that reason. Like she goes into the bathtub, she's like, bath time is my thinking time. And then she has her crayons with her, and then
Love
she
it.
draws things on the wall as she comes, and then she like takes a picture when she's
It
done,
is
kind of thing.
genius.
That's
I love it. I
genius.
love it.
Genius.
So here we are. We're talking about like our network, right? We're talking about conversations that we have heard, things that we've listened to from other people's expertise, which I love. That's why we're having this conversation.
Mm.
And so tell me a little bit about what were some of the outcomes that you had hoped for, and some of the outcomes that maybe were unexpected benefits.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
So if we're gonna get super
wherever you
nitty
want.
gritty now, um, hey Laura, um, uh, nitty gritty about sort of what outcomes I actually, again, did not know. I'll be super honest. Hey Robbie, I wanted to like, yeah, like I knew I wanted to get the word out there. I knew I wanted to talk about happiness, being that it's my first summit that I've ever run, and also super honest, like it's the first thing that I've truly quote unquote launched in the happiness realm. I had no idea what I was supposed to expect. I really didn't. People were like, oh, like I'm expecting about whatever X number of people to join. I'm like, I have no idea how to even estimate that. Like, I just actually don't know. And so, in working with some of the people who have taught me marketing, like Robbie, who's watching this right now, like I just thought, well, then how will I measure whether this is going well or not? I decided to keep an eye on the conversion rates on each of the steps, because that told me that, like, at least that part of the step process
Yep.
was doing okay. And so, and that's how I approached it. Like that was the only way I really kind of knew how to think about it. And so I kept an eye on it. Like I mean, I ended up with about 170 people who registered, which I don't know. Again, like I have no concept, but my mentors, Mike Kim being one of them, you and I have shared a little bit about it, Robbie being another one. Um, I'm told these are pretty reasonable numbers. Like they're pretty good numbers for somebody who's just doing this for the first time. What I was really happy about was the actual page where people sign up. The conversion rate on that page, meaning the people who landed on the page and then actually signed up for it, was over 41%, which again, I am told is like a fantastic number. And so I was like, great, like I'm just gonna go with that being like a good option. And then I just kind of learned, like I understood that point. I didn't really understand, like I was given the advice of turning the summit because it's free, and then giving people the opportunity to purchase a lifetime access. And then there's what we call a one-time offer on the thank you page. That also converted well within the reason of what I should be expecting. So I feel like all in all, the steps were right. Like the things that were going along the way were correctly done. Obviously, there's always things that I can do better, and there's always things that I can improve on. But that felt really good. I like forget the 170 people, like just the fact that I knew the way I had set it up, like it was leading sort of correctly from a marketing perspective. That was good to learn. Um, I will say that it's interesting. I had I originally said that I wanted to run the summit because I was really passionate about sharing this message and I wanted people to hear it. I had people reach out to me, and it was just like uh, the opening of the summit is actually a keynote that I gave in Nashville last year, to introduce the idea of happiness and how to think about it before we deep dive during the summit. And I had a couple people reach out to me to be like, I watched it. They're like, it was so amazing. Like I never thought about happiness this way. Like it's like so eye-opening to like think about how to now consider this in my life. I had somebody reach out and was like, I watched it 3 times. It was so good. And like for someone who is launching in a different niche or a different realm for the very first time, these are very uplifting and very validating messages. And I understand that from like a personal development perspective. I have to be validating of myself. I do understand though at the very beginning when you have people validating you who are watching from the outside, that is also a part of the journey, and it's okay to accept that right now as part of the encouragement to keep me going. So that was great. And then I've had two people reach out to me and ask me if I could then be a part of their series that they are doing. So I think those were unexpected outcomes for me. Like I sort of didn't know what to expect. So when these things were kind of rolling in, they felt like really positive, unexpected outcomes. And I think an obvious one that isn't really said, but I kind of know would have happened just by launching a summit is just brand awareness. Now people are like, oh, you're really about this. Like you just ran a summit. Like this is your thing. And yeah, and I think that's kind of what came out of it for me. And really, I'm really excited about it. Can I share one more thing? I feel like I'm
Nope.
just now
Go.
talking nonstop, but I've launched a lot of things in my entrepreneurial career. This was the first thing that I launched that if somebody said to me, you're going to have to do this again next year or 2 years later, I'd be like, no problem.
Amazing.
There wasn't an ounce of like, oh, okay, all right, I gotta do that again. Like there wasn't really that feeling at all. And I think as much as I am for systems and like growing your business a certain way, I think there's something to be said for at least making sure there's parts of what you are trying to grow in your business that you truly, truly enjoy doing.
Coming from the chief happiness officer,
right.
I'm loving this because I think it really also maybe speaks to the value of you choosing to do something that was going to bring you joy, right? And you didn't know that, right? You had no expectations. You said that a couple times now, like no expectations going in, which is awesome. And I think what I love is that because it came from a place where you were collaborating with your network, you were showcasing something that you're super passionate about, a topic that is essentially novel, sadly, in the world. And so being able to then have all of that come together, that it was a joyful experience for you. I love that.
I think it's really, I've worked with a lot of mentors who, again, like I've learned a lot from them, but there was like always a specific reason to do that next thing, to do that next thing. And it's fine. Like I understand that there is a pattern for entrepreneurs to grow their business. Like I can accept that and I understand that that's part of it. And I'm also realistic. I don't think anybody, to my knowledge, owns a business where every single thing they do is something they love doing. Like I just don't actually think that's possible, right? But I do, again, like there is something to be said for making sure that there is something that you put out in your business that you just love doing, even if it may not make like the most sense. Like somebody asked me, they're like, was it worth it? Like, was it worth it? And I'm like, I don't know how to answer that question. Like, I think if you're going to sit there and think about it from a monetary perspective, and like in complete transparency, I don't have a large enough audience where a summit right now is going to make a ton of money. I think if you're someone who has like a very decent sized audience, your summit will help you generate revenue. It's a revenue generating activity. Right now for me, it's not really, but that wasn't the intention. And so to me, like from a monetary perspective, like, is it fully worth it? Then no, I guess not if that's the only thing we're counting, but I don't know that that's the only thing we should be counting. To me, it's worth it because I got to chat with a lot of people that had expertise in particular areas. I felt like we were giving value to the people who signed up. Again, from like a brand awareness perspective, obviously, if we're talking like, again, marketing terms, I generated 170 new, what we call quote unquote leads, like people who are now in my system and are somewhat familiar with my work. And so I think like in the long term, I think there will be obvious benefits that I can pinpoint exactly where it's, like how it's related to the summit. But I don't know, I guess like to me, it was worth it because it gave me the spark. It gave me, again, validation that this is something that people are interested about.
And they were.
Got to have really great conversations with people. Yeah, and like the brand awareness part, I think is part of it. So I think, was it worth it? It really depends on or if someone's thinking about running a summit and they're watching this, I think it's like a, what are you, what are you hoping the summit, maybe not phrased like that, but
Yeah,
like,
really
why are you running the
working
summit?
on
Like
the metrics of
what,
success, and
what,
that there's
yeah,
many and multiple metrics of success
yeah,
that aren't
yeah,
necessarily just, well, this is another, revenue generating activity, sure, but that's not enough.
yeah.
You want to have more, and honestly, it came through. It came through for me in the attraction, in the emails, in the funnel. I think I wrote you, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the sweetest note. Like everything about the interaction overall for me was really positive. Now, I also remember getting an email from you that, oh, by the way, if the link isn't working, here's why. So even though you came in with low expectations, tell me if you're comfortable, were there stresses along the way or things that didn't quite go to plan?
Oh, 100%. So I'm like, I don't know if there's anybody who launches everything that goes exactly the way it's meant to go. Um, I'm a very organized person. So I will say this. Um, the Thursday before the launch of the summit, which started on a Monday, the Thursday before, I went out to see Jay Shetty at his book tour. He had a Toronto stop, so I went and spent the evening there. Friday was the last day of March break, so I chose to spend the whole day with my daughter and my mom. There was nothing left to do. Like everything was actually already in place for Monday. There was just a couple of buttons that needed to be clicked to like kickstart the whole thing, but like there's nothing left to do. Now, along the way, did I find hiccups? 100%. We accidentally put your name
It's okay.
incorrectly on
You
the
fixed
page.
it.
I'm sorry. Like, oh,
I
it
didn't
was like
even
an
notice, by the way,
oversight.
Ellen. It was my mom who
Um,
was like, "Who's Becky?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's
oh,
like, "Is it like everything else is like meet Ellen? Yours says meet Becky." I was like, "Oh, that's a typo." Let me send her a message. No, I'm
sorry,
so
sorry,
glad she
Brooks'
proofread
mom.
it.
Sorry. Um, um, it's, it's, I mean, I think obviously if I already had gone through that page. I clearly didn't catch it the time I went through it. If I had gone through it three more times, would I
Maybe
have gotten it?
there's a B and a
Yes.
K.
Did I need
Yeah,
it
yeah.
to be? Maybe. I hope I would have caught it if I went through it three more times. And I don't want to say like I'm not dismissing the error as like it wasn't important, but I am saying that I could have read it three more times. I may or may not have caught it. I am not looking to deliver a perfect event because I don't know that I could make it perfect. There was an email that was scheduled to go out Thursday morning for the summit. Like one went out every morning at 8 a.m. The Thursday one did not go out. Who knows why? No one knows. It was scheduled just like everything else was scheduled and it just didn't go out. And I was like, oh, oops, like what happened here? And like, I'll never know. And so was that stressful? Yes. But again, like maybe because I was just like, I don't know what to expect. And I just don't know what I was supposed to, like how this was supposed to roll out. So I'm aware that there are no perfect launches. Like I am aware that despite your best intentions, something can go wrong and you don't even recognize it. Like a human error was your name. Again, if I read it three more times, maybe I would have caught it. The technical one where the email didn't go out, it just didn't go out. Like I have no idea
Yeah.
why it got hung up on Thursday morning. And it's just like I'll say this. I definitely had emails come in letting me know that there were grammatical errors in my emails and other errors like that they found at like spelling like small like typos and like small thing like in the paragraphs. And I own all of that. Like I could have, I guess, gone through like umpteen more times and made sure of that. But I also think that as a business owner, you have to you gotta do what's reasonable. At least this is my standard for myself, like that I went to bed at night being like I did the best I could. And my best isn't
Well, I'm going
going
to
to be perfect.
add to that, if I may, but there's not necessarily value in reading it three more times. Like, what torture are you putting yourself through going word by word, reading it forward, reading it backwards? Like, at some point, and I mean, part of the hope is people are writing because they care. because they want you to know in case you do
Hmm.
this again, or like, you're not going to cry. The email went out. So you can go back and fix it. And that's also a technique,
Right.
which I also find really interesting. I have been part of, or like, a participant in summits like that before. And you'll actually get these, oh, hey, there was a typo, or hey, there was a link. But I actually happen to know there wasn't. It's part of their, I'm human. I, make mistakes just like everybody else. And it's actually part of their marketing strategy. In this case, I know that's not you, but there are people who do that kind of stuff on purpose so that they do incite some kind of a reaction, and it feels like it was really authentic, even though the whole thing was done with a copywriter and a huge team working on it. So I think there's some real
Mm.
value in two things. One, I love that people wrote you to let you know, because I believe that they came from a genuine place of care, to help you,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
So that next time, if you're
Hmm.
reusing the same copy, then now you know. But I think the other thing is that yes, you do have malicious people, but they're not going to sign up. That's the thing. Like, they're not going to be the ones who are reading your
Hmm.
email in detail just to pick on you. They tend to be people who are writing from a place of
Yeah.
care to let you know, because they want to help you
Yeah.
improve, and they're coming from a place of kindness.
Yeah. 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 I think everything I I recently made a post about this actually, but like I think there's a lot to be said about compassion. Um, I had a lot of self-compassion
Good.
for me myself, I think, going through this process. I'm also super grateful for the people around me who are rallying for me. And like when these errors did go out, they're you included, like very forgiving about it. There's a lot of support around it. And I think that is also definitely an unexpected result. Like I wasn't really sure again what to expect, but just knowing that there were a lot of people, speakers included, who really like rallied to help make this event what it is. Like I'm just like I'm super grateful for that. I think it's not, sometimes in the entrepreneurial world it can feel like you're trying to do things on your own, and knowing that there was a lot of people who supported what I was doing. Um, yeah, really
I'm
it was
really
really
glad.
nice.
I'm really glad.
Yeah.
I know for me, there's also, I think, a huge amount of faith that you have when you come in as a co-presenter or someone who's participating. You have trust that when something goes wrong, it's like, okay, well, they're going to fix it. Like, so what? So I probably would have had the same error, right? So it's not even a forgiveness piece. It's just
Mm-hmm.
you have this expectation that it's a collaboration and it's life, and it'll get fixed and it's okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think aiming to do any, I mean, this is probably said a lot, but like, especially if something is as dynamic as a summit where it's going for several days and there's so many facets to like getting it to work, and
Mm-hmm.
making decisions along the way that like roll out, make it roll out a certain way. Honestly, like I, I'm very happy with how it rolled out. It wasn't perfect, but I think if I tried to make it perfect, it would have been unbelievably stressful. Like unbelievable. There's just so many moving parts to something like this that yeah, think I think not not
Helped.
having a ton of expectations. Not to say like I
No, not
lowered
the
my
same thing.
standard.
It's not the same thing at
And
all.
that I think is the difference. Right, exactly. Right. I had a standard for myself that I needed to maintain, but my expectations were also like I'm happy that it went out. I am happy that people were interested. I'm happy that people learned something from it. Like those were yeah.
No,
Sorry,
it's
I lost my
okay.
train of
I'm
thought there.
I'm
I was
gonna jump
going
because I
somewhere.
love that it did bring you happiness. That, like, a sense of happiness inside you while working on this. But I'm gonna ask maybe just a bit of a technical question, and then we'll wrap up because I'm thoughtful in your time. In
Yeah.
terms of the amount of effort, because you've talked a couple times about the fact that there was a lot of moving pieces. So there were videos to record, videos to
Yeah.
edit. There was an email sequence to create. There was a landing page that needed to be, I'm guessing, refreshed and recycled each day as content came off and new content came on. Um, what was the scope of work? Okay.
About 6 weeks. Um, yeah, because you got to schedule the interviews. They all need to take place. You got to collect everyone's information. Um, that then then the videos need to be edited. There needed to be a promotion plan that started in advance so that I knew exactly how I was laying everything out. Once the videos were edited for the actual video, like the summit day, all the speakers got snippets to put on social media because it's always easier to get other people to help you spread the word if you
100%.
provide them with the assets to do so. And so, so that needed to get done. You're right. There was an email sequence. There was an email sequence that went to internal people, which is people who are already in part of my sphere. And then there was sequences for people who signed up as they were coming in. And then there was the email sequence the summit week. And you're right, we have one. So here's a secret. We have one page that hosted all of the videos. We just opened and closed different blocks on different days. So everything was actually on the same page before Monday. We just opened and closed blocks every single day as we moved through the days. Um, and then now it's actually not done. So the summit technically is done. All the speakers and the participants who purchased the lifetime access now have a bonus workshop, which I am putting together to follow up and add to what was presented at the summit. And so after the summit, there's obviously like a wrap up email sequence that needs to get sent out. So I would say about 6 weeks. And I definitely had help. Like I have an assistant who helped me manage my tech stuff. I had somebody who was doing video editing for me. I wrote all the things. Like I wrote all the sequences and whatnot and myself. And there's like little things like underneath the video, I wanted to have key summary points so that people knew what the video was going to be about. So like that took a little bit of time for me to just make sure, so small things like that. But I think it was important for me to have that as part of the experience, that like people knew kind of key moments in the videos and what was going to be covered. I wanted the email sequences to go out every day that had a short blurb about the video and what it was about. So like little things like that just ended up taking longer. I think people can choose to do that or not do that, right? Like, but to me, it added to the
I'm going to
experience.
say yes, because I was able to plan and because I had 48 hours, right? And so for me, it was thinking of like, well, I don't have time to watch all of them today, or I may not have time to watch all of them in this 48 hours, but I also was one of the people who signed up for lifetime access, so I knew I could come back to it. But what is the thing that I want to watch? And so because you had the blurb, I was able to prioritize. And in fact, I was pleasantly surprised because I got to read the blurb you wrote about me, and I was like, wow, I need to bring her on as my copy editor because I am fabulous. This is great. I didn't even know this was my brand message. Like, it was so good. So it was fun as a participant to have that on the other side, but also really valuable for me, because one of the things that I was able to then do is, because you gifted me a copy of the video, I was then able to transcribe that, and now I've also got key messages from myself that I can now build into my own copy over the next little while. And so that also was just super valuable for me, really helpful.
Thanks. I'm glad. Like I wanted to, I mean, obviously speakers aren't paid to come and there's like collaboration potential, and that's why that happens in summits. But I did want to gift something to the speakers without it being like weird, like sending you a gift card or something like that. I was just like, I don't, how do I manage this? And so I was like, oh, like I think having your own interview like professionally edited and sent over so that you can now reuse it as you wish, how you wish, whatever people are wanting to do with it. I think that was like, oh, I wanted to have a nice touch. Like to me, like these things are important. Like these kind of details, like less so maybe the grammatical stuff, but like this is important to me. Like to make sure that like the people who participated got something out of it, opportunity to talk about their message. I know again, like Dr. Carrie Fullerton is like, oh, like I want to use this to showcase my work. Like, is that okay? I'm like, it is your video. You could do whatever you want to do with it moving forward. It doesn't matter to me. But for her, she's like, oh, this will really help me like get my message out there. And I feel like, see, like that's good. Like that makes me happy. Like I contributed, to helping someone grow their brand and their work too. And that feels really good. Like that's another unexpected great thing that came out of this, was like the fact that I could help other people.
So do I. So I was super glad when you said yes to be able to debrief. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we go? You can say no.
I'm trying to think of how I want to say it. I think sometimes at the beginning of a business journey, and I feel like that's where I am, even though I've been in business for a while, I was never in this realm, so I feel like I'm starting again. I think sometimes in my experience at the beginning, it's okay to just throw spaghetti at the wall for a bit. I really do. You, I mean, don't throw fried rice and spaghetti and naan and lentils and like, it's got to be a slightly systemized throw at the wall. However, sometimes like you just don't know what will work and what won't work and what resonates and doesn't resonate. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in that phase where it's like analysis paralysis. Like you're just stuck being like, oh, should I do this thing or that thing? Or like, what if I do it and nothing happens? And like, there's
Yeah.
a lot of that conversation. And sometimes if it's like something you're really passionate about and you really want to get it out there, just get it out there. Like, I just feel like when it comes from that space, something always comes back. Like, always. It always does. And it's always unexpected. And so, like, that's what I would say. Like, my final message is like, this is not something that I would have ever done in years before because it didn't feel like I knew exactly why I was doing it or where it was going to go or what I was hoping it would do. Like, I was just like, but this is important to me and I want to get it out there. And it really was a bit of a spaghetti at the wall. And I think some of it landed pretty well. So, like, it, yeah, that's what I would say. Like, don't get super stuck in the analysis part. Like, if there's something you really want to do, just do it. Just do it and see what happens. And
I
there's
love
always
this.
pleasant
Thank you.
surprises.
Thank you for your time today. Ellen, where can
No.
people go to find you?
I I love connecting on social media. I actually believe using social media to elevate people's well-being is totally possible. So if you like learning about happiness and well-being, and this is a conversation that sparked your interest, come hang out with me at the Joy Avenue. Yeah, I try to post valuable content around happiness
Perfect. I
and
will drop that
well-being.
in the messages afterwards. Thank you again for your time, my friend, and thank you for all your insights.
Thank you so much. I love chatting
Awesome.
with you.
Careful,
So
I may
anytime,
take you up
Brooke.
on that. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day. Thank you again. Bye.
Bye.